Hello, friends, and welcome to Talking with Famous People. My name is host Eric. It's a Sunday afternoon Q&A live stream here. Presumably, participants in the viewing ship audience, such as Stephen Lewis, will provide the Q's, and I'll provide at least some of the A's. Hello, Stephen Lewis. How are you today? I hope your Sunday is proceeding well, or at least without abject disaster occurring. I think I'm going pretty well. I just washed the car. Got a little bit hot and sweaty washing the car because it's warming up out here in Southern California. Hello, Steve-O. How are you today? Oh, good. Catastrophe-free Sunday is always preferable to the alternative kind. So I went to the weed store this morning. I got some of this Elmer's glue. It's good stuff. Smooth smoking. Smooth smoking, like, I don't know, something that smokes smoothly. Let's pull this bowl and then I'll get back to discussing the matters of the day. Oh, Jesus Christ. Amber Drasher. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you, too. You are quite a wonder. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Hey, Taylor. Yeah, it is barn ripping time for sure. I just sat down from after washing the Kizar. Are dreams NI or SI? Are interpreted dreams SI and not yet interpreted dreams NI? As in, at first they appear as unknowns? I don't have a very good sense of what dreams mean, if anything. I would suspect that they address unresolved emotional stuff during the day. As to the meanings or the symbols and stuff, well, that's an NI framework that's imposed upon them in wakefulness. What they mean in and of themselves at night is whatever you experience them as, I guess. What they mean during the day is something that we can create, but it's not really representative of something concrete or real. Amber Drasher, this bomber, of course, is going out to you. I'll try and substantiate it for you. Today, we're smoking, Amber and I, Elmer's Glue, which is a derivative of the Gorilla Glue line of hybrids. It's part indica, but mostly, part sativa, but mostly indica. I do hereby transubstantiate thee with the power endowed me as ye Lord and Archpastor. Transubstantiate thee! That one's going straight to the dome for you, Amber Dratcher. I can tell. I don't feel it myself, but I can tell. I'm having a live stream. I read somewhere that people dream with their fourth function, legit or BS. My experience of it has been relatively consistent with reality in that, I seem to have a lot of dreams that are placed. The setting of them is some old place like.
Drescher.
Well, that's why I was transubstantiating bong rips to her.
Are we going to have you move in with us or something?
We're going to have to send her a big box of swag, that's for sure.
Oh my God.
Now, Kim has made progress. We made progress on the t-shirts, by the way. I'll get back to the dream question in a little bit. And Kim successfully made a sweatshirt last night. So now we're on point with that. She's got it all worked out. Let me tell you guys something. Trying to figure out a cricket with 6th and 7th slot TE combined and us battling each other. So it's more like 7th and 7th because Kim doesn't want solutions from me. And it's just a nightmare. Even though it's not a particularly complicated device. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, the dream thing. So I tend to set my dreams in past locations like my grandmother's house. I have a lot of dreams in my grandmother's house. And Kimberly seems to have more of an any style dreaming, but I don't know. It would be hard to say. Like, everybody's got lots of various things in their dreams. What comprises a large amount of SI or a large amount of whatever is going to be hard to determine and hard to measure. Amber offered you air hugs, Kim.
Air hugs back.
And I also offer air hugs back, Amber. So let's see. Yeah, I think most of that dream stuff is nonsense in general. It's like, I get that it's a very tempting area of life upon which to impose some sort of NI style, what do you call it? Like pattern, archetypal shit that seems resonant. But it just doesn't seem, I don't think it really flies for me. What's the weirdest dream I can remember? That's an odd question. I don't remember a whole lot of dreams, but I remember a dream when I was a little kid where my parents were floating away on hot air balloons and I was being left behind, and I was very upset about it. And it's one of the first things that comes to mind when asked to remember dreams, and it's from long time ago. So, have I studied recurring dreams? No, I haven't. I'm not knowledgeable about dreams at all, or sleep state consciousness at all. There's a lot of things I'm not particularly knowledgeable about, specifically in psychology. For example, it came to my attention based on somebody's comment that I really need to study more about existing theories of memory in order to have a clearer argument for why SI comprises, or what exactly comprises SI and how it relates to memory. So on that regard, I think that I don't know. There's a lot of stuff I don't know about enough. And dreams and just general sleep state stuff is one of those areas where I don't really know much about. Hello, Stephen Rain. Stephen Rain says hello to everybody. And let me see if I can remember any other dreams that, well, I remember having a weird dream before my first marriage where I dreamed I was marrying this awful special ed kid that I disliked at work a lot. And
the fact of the matter became that you did.
And that was my unconscious saying, don't marry this awful, awful woman. But I'm glad I did ultimately, because she produced Delilah for me, and now I have a daughter, and she didn't stick around for very long. And whatever suffering I had to endure for that first marriage was worth it for the outcome overall. It was a cheap divorce. It didn't cost anything, and I got to keep the kid, basically. So my dream was wrong. You were wrong, dream. Can ESFPs use TI in limited context, like if they know that the context wants them to use it? Well, I think there's a base level of TI that's required to just make it through the world at all. So, for example, an ESFP can't directly contradict factual statements that they make left and right all the time without being accused correctly of being a liar. So they've got to sort of keep track of what they say, at least. And they've got to have some sense of stickiness to words, right? that meanings that they express persist beyond the immediate expression of them, and that they're accountable to those meanings to some extent. Just like there's a baseline right now in America, in Southern California anyway, it's 2:25 in the afternoon. So yeah, whatever I was saying. Do metaphysical creators generally create physical or metaphysical knowledge? Okay, well, that's an interesting question, because it says, do metaphysical creators, now in that phrasing of it, your metaphysical is modifying the creators. But if you mean, do creators of metaphysicality generally create, or do you mean the type is metaphysical, but they're creators? I would say that metaphysical types, such as ENTPs, INTPs, INFJs, ENFJs, what kind of stuff? Thank you, Stephen Rain. I appreciate that. It's very kind of you. I would say that any DOMs create NI that becomes their SI. So, or at least they're trying to create NI. When they fail, they create SI. So ENTPs who are making things, when the things they make work, it's because they're made out of SI. They're gratifying. I mean, they're made out of NI. They're gratifying on a universalist level. When ENTPs make shit that doesn't work, it's because they're doing stuff that's only gratifying to them on a particular level. Like the smell of your own farts kind of thing.
What? You like to smell your own farts?
No, Kim, it's an analogy.
Okay, I'm just.
It's like you're much more bothered.
Thank you, Stephen Rain. Speaking of rain,
you're much more bothered by the smell of other people's farts than you are your own. Is the point? Okay, so recurring dreams for you are usually extremely painful and traumatizing. Early childhood history. You were abandoned by a trash dumpster in San Bernardino.
Who?
Amber Drasher when she was a child.
What?
That's crazy.
Oh my God.
Good thing that the trash guys were able to distinguish you from the rest of the trash.
I mean, that's a crazy story. Amber, I hope you weren't like traumatized over that shit. That's like such bullshit. And you got adopted and you found great parents. Please tell me yes.
I'm sure. Well, she's obviously still alive. The garbage man didn't take her to the dump to dump her into the trash can.
We'll adopt you.
Amber Drasher is fine. Okay, Kim? She's obviously not living in the dump
after
the garbage man drove her away. Okay, so obviously they found some people to say, raise these children. And they said, okay. Now, is there a type that really wants to be liked but isn't really good at it and doesn't like people really? INTPs? That sounds like you're describing INTPs. Sky Winters is back, huh? How do you define metaphysics? I define it as the mechanics of non-physical systems. For example, the internet's architecture is a metaphysics, not a physics. So, grateful trash was late. Well, they might have just said, hey, you know what? Why don't you take this home and give it to Rosarita?
Hey, ask Amber if she sent me her address and the size t-shirt she wants and the colors and all that bullshit.
If you haven't yet, Amber, and you would like to receive stuff, please do send me your mailing address. My email address is my name, Eric Strauss, backwards @gmail.com. That's suartsire@gmail.com. What do you think about the Russian spies here in the U.S.? Are there Russian spies here in the U.S.? Probably there are some. I don't know what they're doing or what to think about that, if there are some. Are Negrum 8s crude and hateful? No, they respond to conflict with, if there's a point in dispute or a point of discord,
so
let's
does
say.
she still live close by us?
I don't know. If there's a point of discord, then an 8 will respond with anger. Amber says, we were adopted by incredibly amazing, sorry, that backwards, parents. My daddy is and always will be my hero. And my mother, she was an incredibly strong, beautiful woman who lived by strong convictions.
There was more than one baby?
It was her and her brother.
Both?
They were both abandoned. At least they were abandoned together. At least you weren't abandoned separately. I don't know if they're twins. She didn't say if they're twins. She just says baby brother. Baby brother suggests they're not twins because they're just younger. Okay, am I an Eager8? No, I'm a 783 tri-type. Pastor Personality says, I had a recurring dream for years that I kept showing up late or missed completely for a final exam. A college final exam. Also, I had one where I forgot I was in class for 2 months. I had one of those kind of dreams in college too, where I dreamed I had gone into a test and was completely unprepared, but I was actually very prepared for that test. It was strange. Lucky for Amber, I knew a guy from California who was abandoned, but he was a teen. He ended up in crime and addiction. Amber, we're a year and 5 days apart. So going back to the question of metaphysical creators, physical or metaphysical knowledge. I don't think we create knowledge. Hello, Matthias. I don't think we create knowledge. I think we create objects of some sort. They're either time objects, that is to say, constructed of meanings ultimately, or they're space objects, or both. No, meta doesn't mean outside of. Meta means above, in the sense that it's the physics of physics, for example. The idea of physics is a distinct object of analysis from physics as it's applied towards anything. In other words, you can do theoretical physics, that is to say, create object of analysis within the field of physics, or you can do theoretical analysis of the field of physics, which would be called meta-analysis. So the word meta means above, not better than, not outside of. Okay? Are ENTPs easily manipulated? For a little while. Sometimes. It depends. I can be, put it this way, I think every type this is the case, that they're susceptible to being manipulated by somebody with their fifth slot function as the dominant. So in particular, INFJs can potentially pull one over on me for a little while. But mostly no, I can't be manipulated, because I always want things expressed in language that's discrete and concrete. And so when people try to justify whatever it is they're trying to do, to explain to me, to get me to do it, it either does justify or it doesn't. It makes me hard to manipulate. I'll walk along a path with you indefinitely, as long as you don't cross any sort of boundaries, but I'll be asking for explanations of things all the way, right? And as soon as you fail to explain something and reveal a contradiction, or reveal something that's not justifiable, or reveal that you can't justify it, or are justifying it the wrong way, well, then all of a sudden I'm no longer with you. All right, so regarding for Andrew Claypool says, Eric, UBI in America, yay or nay? I'm in favor of the universal basic income only if funded by my crypto USD plan. Now, if we want to fund it with that and that architecture, which I specify in a document, which I could put the link to here, but I don't really feel like getting it at the moment, then I'm in favor of UBI. If we fund it entirely by getting rid of all other social programs, including Social Security, and redirecting that money entirely to UBI, then I'm in favor of UBI. But I'm not in favor of adding an additional level of social program to the status quo at all. Okay, so Sky Winners, let me explain to you what the definition you read means. Okay, Sky Winters wrote here. Sky Winters writes the definition: metaphysics is the branch of philosophy that deals with first principles of things, including abstract concepts such as being, knowing, substance, cause, identity. In other words, the mechanics of systems, non-physical, right? So that's what it says, abstract concepts. And where it says the first principles of things, that means above the physics, in other words, coming before, that the physics supervenes upon the principles being subjected to analysis by philosophy in the branch called metaphysics. But in metaphysics, more broadly, is the same thing as aphysics. There's physics. The word physics refers to the physical sciences like Newtonian physics and stuff, okay? But then there's aphysics, which is a logic of any physical system. Additionally, there's metaphysics, which is the branch of philosophy, and then there's ametaphysics, which refers to any metaphysical system's logic. So that's the answer to that. So, Sky Winners, look, you say that there's abstract theory with no basis in reality. Okay, but so you're dismissing all of abstract meaning. Okay? You're dismissing all abstract meaning. You're saying that unless we're talking about a concrete reality, and even then, because we're talking about it, it's invalid. All we can do is experience concrete realities, and it's the only thing that's valid. Is that your position? So what is your position, then, Sky Winners? You seem to be determined to negate mine. What do I think about Sweden and Iraq? I mean, I think that Sweden's making a mistake with its immigration policies, and I think that Iraq's a clusterfuck of epic proportions. Side note, the biological woman was murdered in 2003 in Florida by her nephew. Oh, that's your biological mother's. Was this what happened to your biological mother?
What?
Was murdered. My non-biological grandfather was murdered. And
Amber's biological mother?
I think that's what she's saying there. I couldn't quite
so it sounds like
all
she's
of it.
Really bad
well, I think that happened after she was abandoned. What does an evil or misanthropic ENTP look like? Go ahead, Kim. If you
I was going to say, well, I mean, leading up, she probably was in a bad place, and thank God she did find another place for him. I mean, you know, she did it poorly, but it doesn't sound like her life was going in the right direction, or that Amber, her brother, could have been safe. Oh my God, I'm so traumatized by this.
She wants to know what color teas you have.
I have gray, I have white, I have black, I have different ones in different sizes. I'll get whatever she needs.
All right. Well, regarding this whole theory of everything, sure, I've investigated theories of everything from lots of different perspectives, and that's one of the advantages of not being attached to any given perspective, is the capacity to determine which is the strongest. Now, the thing is, any theory of everything is going to operate in its own frame. What Sky Winters points out is not possible, right? Things can't be outside of measurement capacity. So, as a consequence, we know that we have some sort of metric in which to evaluate things by, and the question of the legitimacy of that metric is a separate question. Sky Winter says, shouldn't I, Eric, just say I'm a relativist instead of trying to make everyone believe you're an objectivist? First of all, I've never made anybody attempt to believe that I'm an objectivist. I've never asked anybody to believe anything about my status as a philosopher with this label or that label. Never once. So it's your questions, or your statement here is based on an entirely false premise, your question. So, okay, I'm not trying to make everybody believe I'm an objectivist. If you ask me if I'm a relativist, I would say I don't identify as that with that status, and I do believe in absolutism, but I have a smart, defensible explanation for it. It's not a dumb one. And you don't like that for some reason. You know? Sorry you don't like that, but you've lost every argument you've gotten in with me, and you've done nothing but attempt to beat me at various things since you've come around here. That's all you do. So, I mean, enjoy the fruits of your labor as I continue to thrash and whip you about the room. And I see I'm not the only one, as Sinjen chimed in with that as well. An observation like, you're not breaking any ground here, buddy. You need to come in with a different attitude. You're not equipped to do battle directly. You need to learn. Okay, well, Donald J. Trump says that he agrees with Sky Winters that my views on this MBTI topic are convoluted, complex, and incomprehensible. But he wasn't saying that. He didn't say that about my views on anything. And he especially didn't say that about specifically my views on MBTI, because I actually don't agree with MBTI as it's stated. And so you've got a mess of a problem there. Now, you would critique what as a TE user as being needlessly dense? My understanding of cognitive functions is the leanest of the metaphysics, not the most complex. I see. Taylor asked the logical question, Amber, what color would be best? Objectivity is the measurement. Okay, how are you defining objectivity, Sky Winters? Things that you can touch. Sweet black is obvious, is always fab. Pink is my signature color. So are you noting this, Kim?
I am.
Okay. Well, you look like you're screwing around on your iPad. I'm talking
with Taylor about the urgency of Amber's stuff.
Okay, so Sky Winters, if I'm the one promoting all kinds of backwards logic, then why don't you establish which of those logics is backwards and why it's backwards? Or are you just going to throw random claims out there, not substantiate them at all, and think you've done something? Kimberly, you are correct. The egg donor suffered incredibly destructive demons. Her own blood abused her in every single way one could be abused, and she knew she wasn't prepared to parent, so she freed us. Well, that was good of her.
I mean, when you have to think of the desperation that she was put in.
Low energy, Eric. Low energy, sad. Well, I don't need to devote much energy to trashing nonsense. So, your whole video on postmodernism contradicts everything you're saying on cognitive function measurements. No, it doesn't. You haven't. Give me an example of it. Give me words that I actually said instead of just randomly slandering me with your fucking straw man. Give me actual words that I said that contradict other words that I said. I have said plenty of words. If you can't find that, that's your fucking problem. If you want to come in here and do battle, you don't have to do that either. You can just come in here and ask questions or learn things or just chat about the weather. I don't give a fuck. But if you want to come in here and tell me I'm wrong and try to do battle, then fucking go arm yourself, for God's sake, with some ammunition. God, you're weak. When I want to argue evolution, I research first. You moron.
That's his favorite one.
Size is large on Amber's shirt.
Pink large.
Yeah, Sky has little pew-pew bullets made of foam, exactly.
What?
Oh, we're just taunting Sky Winters for his incompetence. So I need to pull another bong rip. I think that's appropriate. I think this bong rip is going to have a dual receiving audience of Amber, and also I gotta look at his name again here.
Rain.
Stephen Rain.
Stephen Rain. That could earn you some loot.
What it's going to earn you is going to earn him a transubstantiated bong rip. Now, if you don't want this bong rip to hit you, there's a certain protocol you need to do. Okay, Stephen Rain, you got to go like this, yaggity 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 when I'm pulling it, and then it won't affect you. Okay, so just do that if you don't want it to affect you. That's otherwise you're going to get high right now. Now you are having to split the high with Amber on this bong rip. Well, and you know what? I'm going to give this one just to you, Stephen Rain, and then I'm going to give the next one to Amber. Okay.
So interesting. So, Amber, do you still live in California? I mean, do you know anything about the history or the story of what really happened? We were adopted by incredibly amazing parents.
I'll go back down to the bottom now. Do you want this one? Juan Pablo? Juan Pablo says he wants full one. Oh, si, senor. May I have a bong rip? Here, and you use this so I can transubstantiate it. Okay, I use a lighter and fuego.
What's fuego?
It's fire, Kim. I've always having to translate. Well, Stephen Rain, you just took a big fat bong rip of Elmer's glue to the brain. And, you know, I hope you weren't driving a bunch of senior citizens to a preschool. Oh, you need a poke? Oh, si, senor, I need a poker. Okay, Juan Pablo, here you go.
Let's go to the bedroom.
Kimberly, I'm sure she just wants him to install a new fan or something.
I want you to poke me.
Kimberly, you're not allowed to poke Juan Pablo.
I don't want to poke Juan Pablo.
I'm in the middle of a live stream, little lady.
Post Eric to poke me. Okay, here.
You're going to have to wait till after the live stream. Meh, predictable. What is meh predictable?
Meh predictable.
Get your shit together, Eric. I have low energy. Okay, well, what would you recommend Donald J. Trump to increase my energy level? You want more waka wakas, or you want more ha cha cha chas, or you want more rah?
He's had a lot of rah. He's been really moody.
Hi, Eric. Can you share your thoughts on cognitive functions and art? Which slot influences us the most in the art that we're making? I think that it's whichever slot has NI, and that's going to have the most impact on what kind of art we do. So, like, look at 8th slot at NI, like Kimberly. Kimberly's 8th slot. In general, I'd agree with you, Chai Arlie. But look, the thing is, if you're an NI dom or NI ignoring, especially, you're likely to be art minded. Now, the other one that's likely to be art minded is INFPs, especially, or potentially INTPs with any second. But the thing is, INTPs have a much more conflicted relationship with art than do INFPs, because for INTPs with the TI and the NI weirdly sort of countervalued, sort of valued, it makes them struggle to come to terms with what they want to make, and they have a harder time. Oh no, that was Juan Pablo Taylor that was coughing right there. Our Mexican friend who comes over and pulls bong rips occasionally, since Kim officially doesn't smoke weed. Let's see here. So, I think basically, if you have NI lower than 1 or 2 or 5 or 6, I guess. If you have the N pair lower than 1, 2, 5, or 6, you're less likely to make any kind of good meaning-based art, although you may still make good experiential art. Like, for example, you might be a good painter, or you might be a good physical artist, sculptor sort of thing, and be a censor, but you're less likely to be a good writer or ideator or musician, probably. You might be a good musician, but you're less likely to be a good musical artist if you're a censor, I would say. Which is to say, you might become very good at your instrument, but not be making what I would consider good artistic choices. And I absolutely do reject aesthetic relativism, which is to say, I think that there are things that are more or less good or true artistically, and that's an absolute but irreducible. And as a consequence, we can shoot for it, attain it sometimes, fail to attain it. But when we do attain resonance with what a time object ought to be, namely its identity as a metaphysical entity, is resonant with its true nature in some regard, then it has lasting resonance. So that's why we've got classical music songs from several hundred years ago that we still listen to. Yeah, I think art can be objectively better or worse, but I don't think you can ever win the argument on anything that it is or isn't. So it's irreducible, which means it's not argumentationally defensible to claim, but I do think it's nevertheless the case. Is Raul Diego an intuitive censor? Raul Diego is a double intuitive. His first two functions are NE, NI, followed by NE again. And those are the only functions he really has. Plus a little bit of SI at the back. Is it absolutely true that there is no absolute truth? Depends how you define truth somewhat. But assuming we talk about truth as expressing as it actually does in the world, which is to say there are relative absolutes, that is to say things that are definitionally or logically necessarily true, deductively true, in which case, yeah, of course truth exists. But whether or not that truth is I mean, that truth is predicated on agreement between parties regarding the definitional status of a given term. So language does not contain truth, obviously. It doesn't make any sense to say that. Truth is a three-pronged test that humans use to understand a given statement. But so you're just thinking way too simply about things. It's not that complicated, but you're not meaningfully engaging the topic. Okay, well, Taylor, I'm not saying I can win the argument. Now that would be hubris. If I were saying something is objectively true and I can win the argument that is objectively truly better art than some other, then that would be hubris. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I perceive artistic truths as universal and absolute. And I perceive myself as, getting varying degrees of close to them in varying things. I especially perceive it that way with music, less so with other media. Yeah, you should get some food. Don't ignore your SI needs, Hero Lamb. That's a mistake always. You got to take care of your SI. What's your opinion on the four sides of the mind? Well, I don't think much of it. I think it's a silly idea. I think that the mind doesn't operate like that. That it's just a metaphor, and people are treating it as though it's not. And it's not even a very good metaphor. Due to the nature of FIs, FI is sympathetic and not empathetic. I don't really like the distinction between those two words. I don't think it's very clear what the difference is, but I would say that FI is sympathetic, yes, in a sort of natural, emotionally responsive way, but it's also very selfish, and it's ultimately about knowing who I am by knowing what I want, and whether or not it's fair of me to get that in this context with the justifications I provide is not an FI concern at all. So, hop us into Patrick's Day from the bonny land of Ireland. I've got a 4-leaf clover, a leprechaun, and a bog. I must be from Ireland. I guess I'm a pirate as well, I think. FE is sympathetic, empathetic. FI is just pathetic. Nobody knows one. That's not true. FE is, I guess, more empathetic if you're going to make that distinction. But I'd say FE is more about other people's emotional states, and in terms of how they relate back to you, and understanding how you can motivate or not motivate them, or reward or punish someone with praise or critique, where their soft spots are that you can jab at and stuff like that. There's a lot of nastiness to FE as well as the positivity to it. There's a carrot end and a stick end to FE. Okay. I feel every truth and or fact isn't absolute. The world is constantly proving that, as well as its dwellers. Well, I mean, the thing is, every truth is extant contextually, which is to say, we can talk about them in the abstract like this is an object of analysis, in which case, the only real truth that's extant in that instance is the truth that things function as objects of analysis. Whereas we can talk about the truth as so we're doing a truth testing paradigm on it, that to say, is this actually true or not? Or we can talk about, well, what does it mean to say it's true or not? There's a lot of different ways we can approach it. The point is, truth is not, it's absolute but not universal. At least it's contextually limited in its universality, so to speak. It might be universal within that context, but it's not universal outside of that context. So that's the tricky thing about it. If we want to understand truth, we have to understand it in a nuanced way. We can't just pretend that we're doing some sort of groundbreaking thinking by challenging the idea that truth is something singular or whatever. It expresses in multiple ways in different contexts, and each of them has kind of its own metric for legitimacy. How can we encourage INTPs to use their any more? I mean, I don't think there's a need to encourage them to use their any more. There's a need to encourage them to use their SE more. When INTPs do something, they're actualizing some of their ideas. The problem that INTPs have is they don't actualize their ideas enough. They just sit there and stew in their ideas. That's using too much any, not enough SE. FI types seem capable of being assholes, and if they believe they're right, they will not change their mind. They can be quite stubborn, quite disinterested in issues of fairness. That's what it means in part to that's what it means in part to be FI is to just be able to reject any sort of appeal to fairness. It's the exclusion to that. In some videos, you mention yours ENTP as a guest, but is this not you just accepting the archetypal model that you otherwise condemn? I guess so. I guess that's a fair critique. I mean, I sometimes will appeal to the general type stereotypes and reference to that, and probably I shouldn't do that. But, you know, I'm not absolutely perfect in my discourse. You probably caught me in a mistake there. I make an occasional one. I let myself open for critique, I guess. So, fair enough. I don't understand how someone who understands objectivity so well can in the same breath claim to be a relativist. I don't claim to be a relativist. Why would you say that? I've never said that. You're just like directly lying. I never said I am a relativist. Like, do you not think before you type things? Is there any philosopher that I particularly appreciate? Not really. I haven't really read much philosophy. At least, I mean, I've probably read a lot of it in little bits and chunks from various places and Wikipedia articles and stuff, but I haven't really read philosophers in that sense. I don't know whose ideas. I don't know which ideas came from who. I read and research stuff very broadly because Lincoln Douglas is basically philosophy debate. So when I'm coaching LD, I got to read a bunch of philosophy stuff. Well, I do believe in absolutes, though, Skywinner. I didn't say I didn't. I do think there are absolutes. You just keep trying to straw man me to death, right? It won't work. The straw man you light the straw man on fire, and then you go to throw it at me, and every time it goes whoops and slips out of your hand and lands on your head. So you should probably stop that. Let's see. Not trying to catch you out, but it just bothers me sometimes because others see and hear that and think one cannot be an ENTP if they don't act like you. Yeah, you're right. It's totally a fair critique. The thing is, I think I'm textbook in the sense that I am displaying a lot of extroverted intuition and introverted thinking all the time. At least my public persona is such that it displays the cognitive functions openly and obviously enough that I could say I'm textbook ENTP without pointing to any specific behavior, except saying, well, if you watch me, you'll see an individual who's exercising extroverted intuition in real time. That's what it looks like. And introverted thinking is a way of checking himself. And yeah. Okay, what's a contradiction, Skywinners? Why is it a contradiction to think that there are some absolute truths and that there are some other areas where relativism is appropriate? Why is that a contradiction? Why do you have to be all one in all circumstances? Have you thought about that? Damn, I never realized the extreme depth of the word description truth. I just thought singularity just be truth and self to the other humans. Well, look, I have some videos on truth from a long time ago, like at the beginning of the channel, where I talk about this three-pronged truth testing approach. But look, the thing to remember is this. All of these things we're talking about, Skywinders, including everything you're saying, everything I'm saying, they are all arguments. The problem you have is that you're making bad arguments, okay? You seem to think that you're expressing something about the reality and that you're doing something other than making arguments. You're not. You're just making arguments, and so am I, and that's okay. Okay, because the status is the meanings we're trying to reach and agree upon are things that exist in the metaphysical space. They're time objects. They're not space objects. So, that's step one of working up in terms of quality of discourse for you, Skywinters, is to understand that you are making arguments, and so am I, and that the reality is you're making bad arguments and I'm making good ones. And the reason is, could be any number of reasons, but one of the reasons is it's actually my job to do this, to make good arguments and to not make bad arguments. So that's my profession, okay? I'm a professional debate coach. I have lots of clients. I coach lots of people on how to win arguments. So when you first begin with acknowledging that you're making arguments, and then stop and think to yourself, do I know how to make arguments well? And if so, why have I concluded that I do? And if not, if I'm not sure, where might I go to learn about whether or not I'm making arguments well? And you might think to yourself, a professional debate coach would be able to tell me that. Well, Skywinners, here I am. And I can tell you, objectively, is my professional opinion, you're making bad arguments. That's all that's going on here. You're making a lot of bad arguments. So whether you want to accept that professional opinion or not, that's up to you. I'm giving it to you for free, and it's quite valuable. I'm not a liberal, Donald J. Trump. You're a liberal. You know what you can do, Donald J. Trump? You can tongue punch my dumper. As soon as Skywinder's done, you're next in line for dumper tongue punching. I know you like that savory, sizzly taste on the tip of your tongue. Okay, so Donald J. Trump. I can't understand you with your tongue buried so deep in my anus, Donald. You'll have to speak more clearly. Evelyn S. Since becoming more aware of my SI secret agenda, I can motivate myself to do more SE. I'm definitely TINing myself into it. But in a way, I'm working on my shadow functions. Thoughts? I think that's exactly what we got to do. Like, for some people, it's more externally impactful in an obvious way than for other people. So, you know, the thing is, having SE in the 7th is more externally impactful to the INTP than having FI in the polar. Having FI in the polar is one that's not going to really cause a lot of obvious, demonstrable, articulatable problems. Probably. I mean, you might say that, like, for example, I probably would not be in this relationship that I'm in if I didn't have polar FI. Of course, it's hard to say, but Kimberly's often a difficult woman, and nowadays we get along pretty well most of the time, and things are pretty smooth around here. But she's got a lot of, there's a lot of shit that I got to deal with her that logically doesn't really make me feel very good. She doesn't make me feel very good a lot of times. She tends to be very, very cutting in her language towards me a lot of times, and just openly disrespectful and stuff. And it's not something that I've ever experienced in a relationship before. So it's something I'm having to basically I don't know what the word is, but I'm having to establish boundaries. I'm having to be a bit behaviorist with her, which is an unusual experience. And having polar FI means I prioritize the things I like, the good things, and the time invested, and the stability, and other things involved with making this existing relationship work. So I'm just going to continue to do that. But that's probably an example of my FI needing at some point to step up and go, this makes you feel bad too often, you know. But it's just, I don't know. Is that a problem? I don't think so. But that's the thing. It's hard for INTPs. If INTPs can successfully get to their SI, like Evelyn's talking about, where they go, I know I want to have something in my book here. I'm writing a book called My Life, and I know I need something in this chapter besides sat in front of computer or played video games. If they can allow that to motivate them to execute, then they'll probably end up doing some very interesting things. I mean, INTPs that do get shit done are do quite remarkable stuff in general. Oh, right. FI can give me better FE. That's true. I have recognized, and I think it's been a good influence on my approach, that vulnerability in general seems to, if it's honest vulnerability, it seems to play pretty well. So there's no point in trying to not be vulnerable, you know. So when I feel it, I just let emotions. I mean, I'm not very good at covering them up anyway. I get emotional sometimes, and I, you know, like, well, you hear me complaining about Kimberly right there. Well, it's because she pissed me off this morning, you know. She pissed me off with more of her bullshit, where she comes out of the house, I'm watching the car, and she starts talking to me like I'm her little bitch or something. And I'm just like, you will not talk to me like that. Now, that's different, Evelyn. That's a very productive activity. Sitting in front of the computer watching, talking to famous people, very productive. I agree there's things which are relative to a given situation. I say, but reality itself isn't all relative. I didn't say reality itself was all relative. I have said that reality itself supervenes upon observation. That doesn't mean it's relative. INTPs love the Pavlovian approach. Why do you keep, I want to know, those guy winners, why do you keep misrepresenting my position? Do you know you're doing it? Are you doing it intentionally? Do you think you're going to get away with it every time? Does she objectify me? No, she doesn't objectify me. She acts like, you know, well, I mean, look, if I'm coming, if I'm doing a task that's mutually beneficial, I'm working on something, I don't want you to come out and yell at me about missing a spot or something, which is her normal MO, and acting all like, you know, contemptuous. I can't believe you're doing it stupid like that. Yeah, like that kind of shit. It's like, I don't want to be spoken to like that. There's absolutely no reason for that. And it's not like she tolerates critique well herself. So fuck no. I am telling you where I stand. You don't like the fact that it's a winning argument, Sky. I just gave you a specific affirmation. I'm saying reality supervenes upon observation. And instead of going like, oh, that's a clear claim, that's a substantial statement that he's made that I could critique openly and directly by according to what it actually says, rather than what Sky wants it to mean. Instead of doing that, you chose to say, you still can't figure out where I stand. Why? I have a problem being vulnerable. I grew up with SP types, so they were carefree. It rubbed off on me. They would never admit to being vulnerable. Eric, you need a strong woman in your life. It's important for a real man. Oh, thanks, John or Donald J. Trump. Appreciate that. A lot of NIFE, but not NITE. Yeah. I told you where he stands. You can't accept because you have narrow and unstable definitions of pretty much anything you're trying to talk about. Yeah, I agree. Here's a workaround for bad SE. Go back to your list you made that you did not get accomplished. Break down that task into you only completed half of into its components and check off the parts you did. And feel good about yourself. I agree. It is a good idea to do the task and then make the list. Is a good way to avoid that hassle entirely. Do the task first, then make a list of the thing you just did in steps. Reality supervenes. Supervenes. It's a word that means the existence of the latter. No. The existence of the former is conditional upon or comes after or is the consequent of in some fashion. In other words, cannot exist prior to the existence of the latter. But you could Google it if you'd like. Supervenes. Supervenes. Supervene is the verb. Adding things to the list and checking them off after you've done them is always good because otherwise you're not giving yourself credit for the work you did, right? You're cheating yourself of the credit you well deserve because everybody knows you don't get credit for something until you've checked it off of a list. Well established. Google it, Sky Winners. I'm not here to teach you a philosophy class, and you're not asking questions for the purpose of learning things. You're trying to set up arguments to critique me, but you need to do the work first. You want me to do all your fucking work for you. Go do some goddamn research. Like, I wish I had a list now. I'm going to have to make a list. What did I do so far today? I got to make a list of it and check it off. It sounds so satisfying. Let's see. I need a pencil. Here's one. And my bong plunging pencil. It's all caked with resin. It fits perfectly down the tube is the thing. Okay, so what did I do this morning? I got up. I went to the weed store. So I'm going to write it as though I haven't done yet. Go to weed store. And then check. All right, what else did I do? Number 2, I washed the car. Wash car. Check. Number 3, what else did I do? Get mad at Kimberly. Get mad at Kim. Check. Number 4, live stream. Oh, also, we've got McDonald's. I forgot. Check. Number 5, get McDonald's. Check. Look at that. Now I am as TE as a man can be. I had a plan. I followed through. I got, oh yeah. Forgot. School sky. Number 6. School sky. Check. Double check plus. What do I like in McDonald's? Well, I normally get either the Big Mac or the Quarter Pounder with cheese. One of the two. I used to be exclusively a Quarter Pounder with cheese guy. I wouldn't get the Big Mac because when I was a kid, I didn't like the fact that it had lettuce and mayonnaise on it. Although it's not really mayonnaise, it's a special sauce. But really, special sauce is just mayonnaise and ketchup mixed together. So anyway, I should have put that on the list too. Explain McDonald's is special sauce to people. A little known fact. I don't know if you guys knew that. There's nothing really that special about it. It's just two different things mixed together. Okay. TI question. You have 2 sheep and a wolf. The wolf will eat the sheep if you are not there. You come to a river with a boat and you all need to cross. How do you do so without the wolf eating the sheep? How many people can fit in the boat? Just you and one of them? Is it just you and one of them can fit in the boat? or just two people, or either two animals or one person, one animal. You got to say that, because if you can, otherwise just put them all on the boat with you at the same time, and just put you between the wolf and the sheeps, and that's it. So you can only put in two at a time. Okay. Well, then I guess, can you put the sheep, will the sheep get out and push the boat back when they get to the other side? If you send them, can you train them to do that? I want to know that. What's Thousand Island? Is that mayonnaise and ketchup mixed together? Do you think first, third order versus first, second order is an anomaly or an impossibility? I would argue it's an anomaly because there isn't a dichotomy preventing the function from being expressed. I don't understand the question. Fast food is not bad for you. You're wrong. McRibs are the shit. You could end up dead. No, fast food is good for you. You could end up dead for not eating fast food. That's what'll kill you. If you don't eat enough fast food, could be the end. Could be. You know that everybody who's not eating enough fast food has died at some point, except for those who are still alive. Oh, it's also not said the wolf needs to be alive. You can just kill the wolf. But I'm assuming you don't want to kill the wolf. Can I make the wolf swim across? I know. I'll swim across, hold on to the side of the boat with a sheep, and then put the sheep on that side. First, take the wolf over, drop off the wolf. Then I'll come back, get the sheeps, and put them both in the boat, and swim alongside the boat, and have the sheep row. I'll teach the sheep to row. They're rowing sheep. I don't know. You didn't mention that they weren't rowing sheep, so maybe they are. Oh man, I ended up dead on accident. Good thing it was only my first of several lives. Any dating advice for an Enneagram 5? All right, bro, listen. I want you to go out there. I want you to slay that puss. I don't want to hear any of your, excuses. You just go up to some lady and you just go like, hey, lady, what up? Just look her right in the eyes. Just a lot of eye contact. And just be like, sup? You can use sup. You can use hey, girl. Either one will work fine. Sup, baby is a little bit more advanced. Maybe wait on that one. But sup, girl's okay. Hey, baby. Any of those will work. And then, when they say something, you just be like, right on. And you just keep saying that and like ask questions like, you like cheese? And whatever they say, you just be like, right on. That's cool. I like that. That's good. And be like, you want to go over there? And I'll show you where. And then like grab her arm and go like this way. And if she goes with you, you're in. Okay, that's how it works. All right, now, is Kimberly waiting for you to bring the fierce and fabulous sexy to the bedroom? I forgot about that. In fact, I really should. I was figuring I'd go at least an hour on this before I stopped it. I'll probably go a little bit longer. Hopefully, she won't have deflated. I guess if one considers one's sexual energies to be an inflation of self in some regard, then yeah. Now look, how experienced are you at the game? Okay, because I'm a game expert. My name is Rick Benson. I'm an ESTP. Obviously, I do slay copious amounts of puss, and I'm willing to teach you guys how to do it. All right. Thing you gotta remember is chicks don't want you to seem like desperate at all. Okay. So what you gotta do is just be like, like I was saying before, this is rule number one. Just go there and be like, sup, okay? You are AK4077? Yeah, well, Kimberly wouldn't sleep with me on my first date. I wanted to. I tried to sleep with her. She didn't want to do it. You take the wolf first, leave it on the other side. Go back for one sheep and drop it off. Bring the wolf back. Leave it, take sheep two, and then you go back for the wolf. That's possible too. That seems like a complicated way of doing it. Why don't we just squeeze all four of us in the boat? If it's enough to fit one sheep and one person, I'm sure we could squeeze the other people on my shoulders or whatever. You know, I could probably carry one sheep on my shoulders. One sheep can cling to the front of me like a baby monkey, and the wolf can be behind us. Why don't I just like muzzle the wolf, like tape the wolf's mouth shut so it can't bite the sheeps? If it can't bite the sheeps, then what's it gonna do to them? Is it gonna snarl at them? No, it can't even open its mouth. Is it gonna claw them? Probably not. Probably won't claw them. You can put little mittens on it too, so it's got no claws. See, that seems like a good solution. Then you can go, why don't you just tie up the goddamn wolf to a tree on the other side so that it can't reach the sheep? And if the sheep are safely out of reach, or if you're worried about the sheep intentionally going over to the wolf to get themselves eaten by it, then why don't you just tie the sheep to a tree as well? Bill Burr. I've had a lot of people ask me about Bill Burr. I don't know who he is, and I don't know what his type is. I think I Googled it one time. I think he's a comedian. Okay, well, Amber Dratcher is saying she wouldn't suggest leaving a woman waiting for the sex. He tends to infuriate us, especially if we are waiting. Wearing just Kimberly is just being her normal self and picking a very inappropriate time to express interest in that. It's like she has ample opportunity when I'm not live streaming or doing something else or whatever to get on that shit, and she just waits until I am doing something that's involving me in my full attention before she expresses that shit just to fuck with me. Stephen Brand, you don't think that was very good advice? I am, bottom line, Stephen Brand, I'm the wrong guy to ask dating advice of. Okay, I don't know if Taylor's still here. He's probably bailed, but if he were still here, he would agree with you that I'm not somebody who should be listened to about how to date or pick up on women. I do not know. I'm not good at it. I've never been good with chicks, and I don't know. So, do I seem like an asshole, do you think? But I'm also very idealistic. Do you think that description applies to me as well, Hero Lamb? Well, that's bullshit. There's no reason to make sex more difficult. Like, why? Why not be a teammate? Why not work together to find things that are convenient for everybody? Why be difficult and testy and yeah? There's no reason for that. It's just wasting both of our time and energy. I don't like that shit. Oh man, last night. Oof. That was a scream fest last night. We had quite a fucking fight last night. I was just fucking. She really fucking pisses me off sometimes. They're bullshit. A typical SI maneuver. My ISTJ partner does that. Not all the time though. It drives me crazy. I end up being the bad guy. Huh. Yeah, well, I don't like that supply and demand dynamic. I mean, that's the whole point. I'm buying the cow, right? So, aren't you supposed to get the milk? Aren't you supposed to continue getting the milk once you buy the cow? Who are the most indecisive types? INFPs. INFPs can't decide if their navel up be called that or a belly button. They probably spend hours worrying about it. Well, then why don't we all just relax about it then and not try to have it be this or that or the other thing, and just like, like just hump when you want to hump, and that's it, and not think about it the rest of the time. It's like everything's so fucking difficult. It shouldn't be difficult. It should be straightforward. Did I go to college? Yeah, I am a college graduate. I have a bachelor's degree. Now listen, you guys. This needs. That would be great, wouldn't it? Yeah, I'm kind of like the Rodney King of sex. Can't we all just get along here? I am a serious. You guys ought to afford me a lot of legitimacy because I did successfully graduate towards the bottom of my class with a degree in American literature. So I'm pretty heavily trained individual with a lot of very specific, concrete, and useful knowledge. Okay. There's a suggestion for you, Taylor. Ahs. AHAHHS. So yeah, I did. I push around weaker, smaller people and knock guys in wheelchairs over. But other than these minor things, I'm a nice guy. Oh, well, good. That's I don't need you to be perfect. It's pretty good. You think DSP is an ESTJ? He might be. I haven't heard a lot of SI from him, but it's possible. Yeah. Anyway, so if you really want advice, Stephen Rain, about dating and picking up chicks, you should ask Taylor. Taylor knows all about that stuff. My advice is just a bunch of pretending to be an ESTP, which I'm sure is not as good as an actual ESTP. Oh, Donald J. Trump, stop self-loathing, okay? Just get down there and you just gobble that cock. You don't need to hate yourself about it, okay? Hashtag Trump gobbles cock. You hear that, Stephen Ray? You got to go talk to him. You got to be like, remember, Taylor will probably say the same thing, I'm assuming. You got to walk right to him and go, sup, okay? Or, hey girl, or sup girl, or sup baby. Taylor, am I right? Those are the ESTP approved lines, right? Oh, I'm sorry you're not going to be able to vote for me. How to get your sexy on. Yeah, those are gold. He's right. Now, see, if you ask me what kind of pickup line to use, I would say you got to do some sort of convoluted, complicated joke thing, and that's not really going to work. Chicks don't necessarily find they like guys who are funny, and they're not opposed to getting with or being with guys who are funny, but they don't necessarily find humor itself very much sexy, So I have a problem where I think the good way to get into the mood for having sex is to make jokes and stuff. But Kimberly doesn't view it like that. She thinks a good way is to be all romantic and smoochy and stuff. And I'm like, that's fucking gay. But, you know, not that I have anything against homosexuality, but I just find meaningless displays of like moisture to be just, I can't keep that shit up, you know? It's like, I do love her, but I don't want to sit around going, oh, my smokeums, can we smooch some more and hug? And I mean, are you serious? Are you fucking kidding me? We're grown adult people. There's no reason for that kind of nonsense. And it's not like I don't mind. I do like cuddling and snuggling or whatever, you know, lying down next to her or something. That's fine, but it doesn't mean I want to be all like romantic about shit, you know. A relationship is as much a business relationship as it is a romantic relationship. It's a business arrangement. It's like, okay, I need to have a woman and I'd like her to do all of these things, but I'm only going to get the 80-20 rule of life. You're only going to get 80% of what you want, and 20% of the shit you get or you're going to be shit you hate. And that's a good deal if you get 80-20. So, I apply that rule to my, to my relationships. And I insist that the only healthy thing to do is to compare your relationship against your alternatives and not against an ideal. And this is something that pisses me off. It's like Kimberly's like, I don't like that you're not perfect in this way. And I'm like, well, I don't like that you won't take that bullshit and shove it up your ass. Are you going to work with me or against me? Are you going to nitpick and try to find shit to critique? Or are you going to be a positive person? You know? So that's the problem. That's why I'm mad today and talking shit and, but whatever. It's not like Kimberly and I are going to break up or anything. I'd say that's a 0% chance of that happening or close to zero. Maybe 0.01% chance. Romance is overrated. Okay, I guess I'm going to wrap this up and go try to make love to my woman. I'm going to go in with something mushy. Taylor, you got a good should I go with hey girl, you think, or sup baby? What do you think? Or should I go romantic, like, Kimberly, be still, my heart. Your beatific visage is mind-bogglingly gorgeous in every way. I just smitten with your glorious beauty. Just go start doing stuff, huh? All right, that's a good suggestion. Don't talk. Taylor, all things in life begin with lots of talking. You should know that by now. Be mysterious, huh? Okay, I'll try. I'm going to go in there and try to be mysterious. Thanks, Amber. You're the best. Whatever you decide, don't forget to make a list. That's a good point. I'll make a list after I'm done with it. All right. I'm going to try to be mysterious now, Taylor. I'm going to go in there and make facial expressions at her. Mysterious ones that are difficult to interpret. All right. See you all later. Thanks for being here. Thanks, Amber. Thanks, Steven. I appreciate that a lot. Those super chats are great.